Do you know the difference between civil and criminal IRS investigations? I'm Andrew Bosserman, tax attorney and founder of Boss Tax Law, and in this video I'm going to explain the difference between civil and criminal IRS investigations so you can know more about each type, maybe what type you're involved in, and how to deal with each. So, there are really two separate sides to the entire legal system, and this also includes IRS investigations. There's the civil side and there's the criminal side. So, the civil side, civil investigations, essentially means any sort of punishment is going to be monetary, meaning you can't go to jail for breaking, laws on the civil side under a civil investigation. It's possible a civil investigation could turn into a criminal investigation, but for example, something on the civil side, you're not going to go to prison for. Contrast that with a criminal investigation. A criminal investigation means that in the case of taxes, the IRS is investigating a crime committed, and if you are found to have committed a crime and are tried and found guilty, then you can go to prison, or there can also be fines and other penalties. As an IRS agent, I was a revenue agent, and a revenue agent is on the civil side. They perform audits of tax returns and other related investigations. So when I was going out and auditing small businesses and individuals, there wasn't the chance that they were going to be put in prison unless I referred them to the criminal side, which doesn't happen too frequently. But when I went out and audited small business individuals, my job was to tell them whether they owed additional money. Um, and, there could also be penalties and interest, but it's going to be monetary, the punishment for breaking the tax laws. Whereas if you are under criminal investigation, an IRS criminal investigator, which is like law enforcement, like a police officer or an FBI agent, but they work for the IRS, they are investigating tax crimes. So that can be things like fraudulent failure to file, tax evasion, possibly money laundering or other similar situations to that. And when you're committing a tax crime, if the government charges you with a tax crime, you can potentially go to prison. There can also be fines and penalties, but a crime carries the possibility of prison time. So there are other differences between the civil and criminal side, but generally the criminal side is more serious because you can go to prison. On the civil side, you can really only just end up owing a lot of money, and that still can be serious, but it's not the same as possibly going to jail. So as an IRS agent, like I said, I was a revenue agent. I was on the civil side, whereas the criminal side is handled by different agents. They're called IRS CI, criminal investigators, sometimes called special agents. Also, the Department of Justice will handle prosecution of tax crimes. But regardless of what type of investigation you're involved in, you should get a qualified tax attorney involved to help you, whether it's on the civil side, because a lot of times I can help taxpayers, pay less money or get penalties abated, or go to tax court on the civil side. And if you're being charged with a tax crime, you'll want to find an attorney who has experience dealing with criminal defense, since a lot of times, it's a sort of a special niche of attorneys. But either way, you need to hire an attorney to protect your interests. Also, if it is possible that civil cases can sometimes turn into criminal cases if the IRS agent in a civil investigation notices some potential criminal activity. For example, when I was an IRS agent, I was doing a standard audit of a tax return and discovered that the taxpayer had filed a return that could potentially be considered fraudulent because it involved a tax protester argument. Essentially, a tax protester is someone who believes they don't have a legal requirement to pay taxes for some reason. And the IRS has held that a lot of these positions are frivolous. But anyways, as soon as I saw that, I made a referral to IRS criminal investigation. and the taxpayer ended up coming in, and I was there, and the criminal investigator was there, and she was questioned. In her situation, they were really going after the preparer because it seemed like the preparer was the one doing a lot of the fraudulent work. I don't believe she was ever pursued. But in your situation, it's extremely important to make sure you have representation, even if it's a civil audit and you think, hey, I may have done something criminal, you definitely need to seek legal help. But anyways, this was just a quick overview of the civil side versus the criminal side. If you're under IRS audit, that's the civil side. Anything doing with collections or appeals, that's all the civil side. But when it gets into tax crimes like fraudulent failure to file, tax evasion, the recent things in the news with Hunter Biden and the IRS, those were all tax crimes. So that's the criminal side, and you could potentially go to jail. So just keep in mind the difference between those two. But regardless, generally an IRS investigation is serious, and you'll want to seek legal counsel as soon as possible. So if you're involved in an IRS investigation or have more questions, feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to help.